Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another rousing episode of the Essays and Espresso podcast. I am your host, Daniel, and I am joined by my two cohorts. Acer, how are you?
Yes.
Yes. And Boken, how are you?
It is true, I am here.
You are here. We are all here. I mean, I don't know why we got into an existential quandary all of a sudden, but I guess that's just how it goes. We're here. Now. So when are we watching that Neil Breen movie?
I was just going to say, just as the hit movie of Neil Breen, I am here.
Ugh.
Now.
Ugh.
I love the ellipses so much. I love it so much.
It's really the best.
Like, he could have just said, I am here now, but that wasn't good enough. It just didn't convey the gravitas that Neil Breen demanded.
Damn, this fucking Neil Breen poisoning my podcast. You know, I reached out to Ruby and I was like, the guys are gonna ask you to watch some shitty Neil Breen movies. Say no. And she was like, nah, I gotta. I kinda gotta.
She knows.
That's
the best.
She's a real one.
It's the fucking best, man.
She's what's up.
I'm just worried that Neil Breen isn't filming his next movie yet. And I have to wait another 5 years.
That's good. That's good. That fucking guy. Nah.
I mean, she was the one that got me into Neil Breen in the first place. So
not Bogan?
It was your own. You were setting yourself up to fail by saying that to her.
I feel like my monitor, the color, I feel like I need to change the color setting. The contrast is way too high. Would it be okay with you two if I did it during the recording?
I'm not going to dignify that with a response.
Are we going to hear a lot of clacking of
No,
buttons,
not at all.
We'll edit it in post.
The fuck does it even matter if your color on the monitor is wrong if you're doing a podcast recording?
I feel like I'm not going to bring my A game. You know?
Daniel.
So the topic this time.
Oh, right.
So the topic this time.
We didn't get an answer on that contrast talk, by the way.
Okay, the answer is no.
Oh.
There's your answer. What's our topic?
We're talking about game difficulties. So Boken in particular had like a raging, just desire, burning even, to talk about this. So
did I?
We will be getting.
Yes. I also, don't you remember? I was talking about how we need to gatekeep harder than we've been doing, and you were like, on the other side,
the gates are not sturdy enough. The locks are not tight enough.
Yeah, all the plebs are coming in, and we need to stop them.
Exactly.
What is that meme? Gatekeep, gaslight, girl boss.
What?
I don't know your boomer memes.
It's not a boomer meme.
If it's your meme, it's probably a boomer meme. Got him, Bogan.
Damn. Straight on.
Executioner style. Gotcha.
Fatality. So Acer, Shadow Tower Abyss.
Yes.
That's a pretty cool name for a video game, I must say.
Yes. I'll put that in the video.
That? Is it, though? Aren't like Tower and Abyss kind of antithetical?
What? No.
No?
Why not? One's going very high and the other's going very low.
No, you can have an abyss in the sky.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can. Haven't you ever played Dark Souls, the Elysium DLC, and turned your TV upside down?
Yeah, but what if you're like deep underground and you have a tower underground in the abyss?
No.
shrouded in shadows.
Almost like that's the premise of Shadow Tower Abyss. Did you know that the first Shadow Tower? So these are dungeon crawlers. The first these are dungeon crawlers. The first Shadow Tower, you begin at the top of the tower and you make your way down because the tower has sunk into the ground. That is so dumb to me. Just make him walk up. What is this?
Isn't this like the that library episode in Avatar?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, kind of, but
it's like it's sinking into the desert.
Yeah.
You're starting at the top of the tower.
Yeah, but like imagine if the top of the tower was at like floor level. That was the base, and it was built down because it sunk so deep.
That's exactly what that is.
Did that happen in that episode?
Yeah.
Oh.
They basically found the tip of the tower or the
well,
library.
they must have stolen it. Yeah, but it was still a tower from the ground.
It was a library.
Anyways, Avatar pilfering from old FromSoft games aside, Shadow Tower Abyss, it's a 2003 game, and it's weird. Imagine, Bogan, you're playing a dungeon...
Wow, a From Software game? That's weird. I never would have guessed.
Yeah! Imagine, Bogan, close your eyes, and you're playing a dungeon crawler. And all of a sudden, you find a bulletproof vest, and a rocket launcher, and you find a golden gun. And oh no!
That sounds sick.
The magical tower that you've been in this whole time, it's not a tower, it's apparently a weird spaceship which landed here from an alternate timeline, and every level you've been into has a tree growing into different alternate paths of times. It's a fucking
I'm out.
mess. This is such...
Next topic.
This is a mess. You know, my uncle, I was talking to him about... he's my dad's brother. He's my uncle, right? Like cousin,
yes.
nephew, however it goes. Yeah. I was talking to him about Tenet, like the premise of Tenet and going like backwards, and he just got mad at me. He was like, "That's such nonsense. I don't like it."
I hope you didn't just spoil Tenet to me because I haven't seen
No,
it.
I was just talking like about the premise.
Yeah,
like
then you said something, and I'm not sure if that is hidden information or clear.
No, it's just beginning. It was just the idea of the time going both ways. That was what I said. That was my chat with him, and he just he got personally offended by that. But yeah, Shadow Tower Abyss. I'm having a hard time assembling a good script for this game because it's such a departure from the original in so many ways. But the original really got critically stabbed because it was like people wanted Shadow Tower to be Kingsfield again, and it isn't. So they kind of just shat the bed critically. But for Shadow Tower Abyss, I feel they made a lot of weird changes to distance itself from Kingsfield. Like the inclusion of guns. Like when you attack enemies, now you can chop off individual limbs, which is really fun. You can like shoot the heads of the flying enemies.
So they doubled down and they were like, "Oh, you want more Kingsfield? Well, fuck you. We'll give you even less Kingsfield."
Yeah, well, I think it was more. We were really burnt last time because it was too similar to Kingsfield visually. So we're gonna really distance ourselves from Kingsfield so that this game can really shine as its own thing. And it worked. This game is like one of the very few FromSoft games of the era that was critically well received at launch.
Yeah, but we never got it. That game came out only in Japan, right?
Yep. Sony was
do
you want to know why? It's because Sony was like, this product doesn't seem viable to a Western market, so we won't distribute it anywhere else. And they did it again with Demon Souls. It's the same story as with Demon Souls. Imagine.
Boo. Fucking Sony, boo.
Yeah. Xbox Master Race. No, wait, that's not where we're going with this. Sorry that I've been so sporadic in talking. I've been drinking my coffee. But yeah, it's like...
So have I.
I'm trying to assemble a good script for it. It'll probably not be out by the time this episode comes out, but if it is, then you can watch it. What have you guys been doing? I don't have any other topics. I've been working a lot.
That's it, huh?
All right.
Cool.
Boken, how's Disco Elysium?
It's awesome. It's like
I've heard nothing but great things about that game.
it's wild that game exists. It's so different from anything else I've ever played.
Do you remember our chat about it, Bogan? I think it was during the lunch break of last episode. Do you remember the talk we had? I still think about it. It was so funny to me. Do you remember?
No.
Really?
I barely remember making a joke, but I don't know what we actually said.
I only know the game. I haven't ever looked everything into it. I just remember them winning some award and them going on stage, and one of the ladies on stage going like, she was thanking Karl Marx for her political education, and everybody on stage got really uncomfortable being next to her. And you told me that actually it has a really wide range of different political ideas.
It does.
And that the examples you gave me were you can be a hardcore communist or a radical free market capitalist, or you can be a progressive, or you can be a racist.
Yep.
And I thought it was so funny that yes, the four politics: communism, capitalism, progressivism, and racism.
That was just an example, but there are some outright racists in that game.
Yeah, I thought that was such a funny, those are the four examples.
And there are people in that game, NPCs in that game, that are just your garden variety racists, where they're kind of not necessarily showing it, but when they feel safe to express it, it's like, yeah, well, fuck those immigrants. And then there's one character that is this giant hunk of tattooed flesh, and he's an outright not critical, but a race theorist. He has studied all the science about races, and he just fucking keeps talking about all the different chemical and neurology and physical appearances of the races, and then he has also this obsession with history, and everything he says about the different races is just pulling these weird connections of, well, this nation back then used to sell potatoes, and then blah blah blah, and then that's why they now are all addicted to alcohol. Just all this weird shit that he keeps pulling out of his ass, but it sounds so scientific and knowledgeable because he's just obsessed with this knowledge. But
and you were like, I never thought of it that way. I guess I am racist.
Well, funnily enough, I did. I talked to that guy long enough, and then you unlock. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself, but you unlock the race theory for your mind, or for your, a thought cabinet. And then you can let your character mull over the thought of all the race theory that you've just heard. And then I guess you can become a super racist. And I've had one character outright call my character a racist and hate me for it, even though I never really agreed. I just took it in and thought about it.
You just kept talking to that guy?
No,
I'm not racist. I just hang out with a lot of racists.
I'm not agreeing. I'm just talking to people and trying to get where they're coming from. A retweet is not an endorsement.
Bogan's been cancelled, guys.
It's a fascinating character, even though it's a minor character, but it's really well written, because I spent some time on super right-wing sites as well. Unfortunately.
Oh no.
Like I used to spend some time on 4chan, and that that place got really corrupted by that kind of ideology.
Wait, 4chan is right wing?
Yeah.
What?
And
when did that happen?
It used to
I'm playing
like
a
2015. Well, it didn't. That site always had a bunch of racists on it, but it used to be just a cool place to hang out in, like the cool anonymous image board where everything goes. And then it slowly got really corrupted. But the point I'm trying to make is I saw people like that on those boards who were like really into chemistry and neurology and history, and just from that sort of specific knowledge trying to recreate what all the races are about, and how you can just, I don't know, just try to make guesses about what people are like just because they come from a specific gene pool or blood pool or whatever. It's really weird. So I guess they did manage to capture that spirit of
that's interesting.
ideology. Yeah.
The spirit of bigotry.
Yeah. They make it sound so scientific, That's all bullshit. It's wild.
Did you know
anyway,
that?
I mean, that's how they rope in the morons, and convince them of their fucking batshit ideology.
That was Hitler's whole deal. He made he added a lot of race into his arguments, and he was like, "Look, the races, only certain races can build countries. Why do you think white countries are the only countries that have ever worked, and why do you think Jewish countries never work?" It's like, yeah, because people have always been kind of shitty to the Jews, and he was like, "No, it's because they're fundamentally incapable of having a." That was his whole argument. So yeah,
sure.
Interesting that they captured that.
Of
interesting
course, but
also
with a bunch of made up races. Like there are, I think, this. I haven't even explained what this game is, but this is an RPG, and it's a completely made up world that looks a lot like our world in the 50s. But the more you learn about the world, the weirder it is. Like there are a lot of concepts that are just wild, and that this game is basically a sci-fi game, if you want to describe it like that. But what's cool about the game is that there's absolutely no combat, and your stat system is basically your inner workings. So you have all these different stats that you can put points into, and they're all your personality traits, and just there's a stats there's a row of stats only for your sort of social intelligence and your the empathy and volition, and one is called Inland Empire, and then there's one, because you're a cop, that's specifically your cop spirit, like your loyalty to the force, and you can it helps you interact with other policemen, basically.
I thought it was like chi that only cops have.
No. And then there's one for your physical attributes, and then there's one for your logical attributes, and one for your agility, basically. Like that's what my character is focused on, is one the empathetic personality traits, and then the agility, as in hand-eye coordination, and interfacing is one that when you need to like touch certain objects and you need to feel like the surface of something. And then perception, my character is really good in perception, but really bad in like, I have no hit points, and I have no strength and all that shit. So you can spec your character in a lot of varieties, but there's no combat. It is all skill checks. And what's cool about it is that your skills basically talk to you. Like your inner skills have the funniest dialogue. in your mind.
Yeah, I heard about this because I've been listening to some other podcasts, and they mentioned how like depending on what skills you decide to level up, they all have different monologues, and they're all like combating each other almost, in how
Yeah.
they commentate on the world. Someone apparently tried to, they cheated, they hacked the game so that they could have like all of them maxed out at the same time, and it makes the game like unplayable
Yeah, that's
Unplayable?
interesting.
Why?
because it's not literally unplayable, but like it's borderline unplayable because like every voice is saying something about everything.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting because so historically, role playing games, computer games, they owe their legacy to like Dungeons and Dragons. And the big thing about transitioning Dungeons and Dragons to a video game is that D&D combat takes a really long time. Video game combat, because it's completely systemized, takes a really short time. And so the actual role playing of video games has always kind of gotten the short end of the stick because there's so much more combat to those games. I'm thinking about like the Baldur's Gates and the Planescape Torments, which maybe aren't the best examples. Those have pretty good role playing. But just the idea that you can strip the combat out altogether and double down on building a character with weird systems.
Well,
I find that's
with a lot of
interesting.
skill checks. It's all skill
Yeah,
checks
yeah.
basically, but the skill checks are so are so well developed that you will get completely different dialogue options and also options to solve problems, because there's still a lot of problem solving. That your experience will completely differ whether you have a character that is good in the strength attributes or in the logic attributes, and you will constantly roll to get certain things done, and you will roll to, I don't know, feel yourself into a character and to get the right dialogue option to convince that character to do something for you. Or sometimes you will just fail, like when some character gives you a bad excuse to convince you that he's innocent, and then it's like you make a logic check, and if your logic is bad, then you fail the check, and then your logic attribute talks up to you, and it's like, well, I see nothing wrong with that. And then there's not a single thing wrong with that entire line of reasoning, even though you as the player know it's complete bullshit and nothing makes sense. But then your character goes, well, I guess you're cool, and that's that.
So the game that's interesting. Those seem to be little quality of life mechanics that help you role play.
Yeah, you have a lot of
Yeah.
dialogue options, and you unlock even more, and you can. There are a lot of problems you can solve through very different ways. Like, if you don't have the strength to open something, you can maybe convince another character to do it for you or to give you the key, and then you have a couple different people you can talk to. And then there's also a lot of skill checks get influenced by your actions. So if you've talked to that character before that you need to convince in some way with a skill check, if you've previously picked the right dialogue choices, then that character is more sympathetic to you, for example, and then you get a bunch of +1, +2 to your role, so that you have a higher chance to do it. All of that stuff. And it's just, there are so many skills, and they all have some use, which is cool, and it's also just really funny that your mind or your body keeps talking to you in all these different ways. And the dialogue is just super well written. Like, the characters themselves are well written, but also your inner workings are really funny and consistently make me laugh. And also there's no real failed state, I guess. Like, even failing certain roles, you can retry later if you level up your skill again, or just sometimes you fail and then the story just goes on a different way.
I heard you can die though.
You can die. You have a health pool. Mine is really low, but I have some health items, and you can fail certain checks and then you will lose health. And if you don't heal up, you can die. But for example, what's also really funny is there's a real-time system. So the time is just going on as you do stuff, and you can only do some activities at certain times. And then you can, for example, in order to waste time, because you need to get to a specific time in the day, you can read a book. And you can buy books at a store and just read through them. And then I bought some kind of book that was so fucking boring. But I was like, no, I'm just going to sit down here and I'm going to read because I need to waste time right now. And it was so fucking boring that my character got physically hurt by it. And I needed to heal myself. Oh, there's another really funny, I don't know which character it was, but it's like some kind of stoic asshole that you need to talk to. And then you can just kind of ignore that character and in a dialogue check just nod to that character. And then that character nods back. And then you can nod again, and then that character will nod. And then you can just keep nodding and get more and more violent in your nodding until you actually hurt your neck. And then you need to heal yourself. And if you don't have a healing item, you can basically die from nodding too hard. But
that's incredible.
It's super cool. And that's all not combat.
This is all super weird,
yeah.
And
it's a
really
I love
weird
it.
World. I love this.
Really weird characters.
I love this kind of shit because it's so absurd, but like fascinating.
That's what's cool about this game. It's a really novel game idea in itself, and it's really well realized. But it also has the strength of the writing to just hold that part up by itself. Like, it's not just novel, it's also just a really cool, well-written story with a lot of charm and humor.
Yeah, I've been really meaning to play this game for a long time now, but I've always been held back by the fact that it seems like it takes forever to play.
It does. I've been sitting on it for a long time, and it's also that I've been playing a lot of other games. Well, I've played one other game, and now I have another other game. But I've been.
You want to talk about that?
Mm-hmm. But I've been sitting on this for a long time. But I'm still interested in playing it. Like, I play maybe a couple hours per week, and that's fine. But by itself, I'd say Disco Elysium is. It feels like a must-play game, honestly. Like, if you have an interest in innovative games, then this is probably a must-play.
Yeah, I mean, I've had it installed for a while now, and every time I open up Steam, I always feel like it's staring back at me. It's like, you're going to play, right? You're going to play today? And I'm like, I should.
You know, the fact that it's always all dialogue and all reading, well, and also now there's 100% voice acting, which I think makes the game feel even more alive. I cannot imagine playing this game without voice acting.
If I played it, I'd probably turn voice acting off.
No, you wouldn't.
I think I would. I always do when I have the option.
Why?
Because I read faster than they talk, and I have a hard time reading it when they're yammering over it.
Boken, it's because if he does that, then he can't watch King of Kings on another monitor.
That's right.
King of Kings?
King of Queens.
King of Queens. Yeah, I'm such a big Kevin James fan. You know, Ben Stiller's dad died like 2 years ago, Daniel? That was too soon.
I did not know that.
You didn't?
You didn't know about Jerry Stiller dying?
That wasn't 2 years ago.
That was like 2 years ago.
No, that was maybe a year ago, max.
No, it was probably maybe like 3 years ago.
You shut the fuck up right now.
It was a year ago. I feel like it was pretty comprehensively pre-COVID, wasn't it?
No.
Oh.
It says that he passed away last year, 2020.
What month? What date?
May.
Damn it.
May of 2020.
Interesting.
Do you know I actually know every King of Queens episode by heart?
Why?
What? Why?
Because we Germans, we had a lot of sitcoms as I was growing up in our TV schedules. Just so many sitcoms. And
do you just love King of Queens?
He loves Jerry Stiller.
I understand it's not a great sitcom, but I've grown up with it.
I'm not saying it's like a terrible show.
It's not
or
terrible,
anything, but like
it's also not particularly smart. But I can give you right now like 50 different King of Queen quotes off the top of my head. I've seen that show so many times.
Please don't.
And it still makes me laugh. Like that and Friends and Seinfeld and 2.5 Men.
Like, I get Seinfeld. That's a funny show. I get Friends. That's a funny show. 2.5 Men.
Friends is also funny.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
I feel like it's I don't think so.
I think Kevin James got bad afterwards.
Really? Interesting. You think he peaked with King of Queens? You think he peaked pre-Mall Cop?
Yes.
Interesting. Did you ever watch Frasier?
Is that a hot take?
I've watched Frasier, yeah.
Frasier
but
is
not,
so
not
fucking
extensively.
good. I've watched every episode of Frasier like 4 times or whatever. I've also watched every episode of Cheers twice.
Oh, that's a show I need to watch still.
Yeah.
I remember going back to Frasier because I was like, ooh, I bet this show is really smart. Like, it's about these socialite Seattle inhabitants, and they have a radio show.
Boy, were
and
you
they're
disappointed.
Rich. And then I was like, this is not smart. This show is fucking dumb.
No,
These characters are not intelligent.
No, but it's smarter than that kind of show of that era. So like it's probably
Barely.
easier. I would say pretty extensively. It's easier to go back to Frasier than something like. I keep wanting to say Meet the Robinsons, but that was a movie. It's not a sitcom.
How I Met Your Mother?
That's not of the same era. Frasier is from
right,
'93.
True. Do you mean that shitty? No, Full House?
Yeah, like compare it to that. Like compare it to shows which came out like from the 90s and really early 2000s. Like compare Frasier to like Will and Grace or some shit. It's way better. I'm also really excited for what they're gonna do with it when they revive it. This is the only thing, I think, that I've ever wanted to see get a sequel, get a reboot.
Why?
Because I love it. I love Frasier.
When has
Love it.
Name one good sitcom remake. A single one right now.
Frasier. That's a spin-off of his character from Cheers.
I'm saying modern sitcom remake.
Oh, you mean modern? No, I'm not going to.
What are you gonna get?
This
with
is
the
a
Frasier
trick
remake?
question. This is a trick question, Bogan. You're trying to make me look bad for wanting this. I don't. I reject your hypothesis. There's a great episode of Cheers where Cliff, he like meets some financial wizard, and he starts making a lot of money in the stock market. And he puts all of his life savings into it, and he's like, yeah, I have a guy. And at the end of the episode, the guy comes to the bar, and he looks kind of weird and erratic, and everyone's like, hey, Cliff, that guy, he seems kind of weird. And Cliff's like, don't worry about it. He's great. And then the guy goes, you know what the future is? Computers. Computers are the future. And then it's like, the audience starts laughing, and Cliff's face just like collapses off of him, and it's like, oh my god, this guy is crazy. He thinks computers are the future. So it was like from the 80s. It's like that's the punchline, that this man wants to invest all of your money in like fucking Microsoft and Apple. Cliff, save yourself. I think the cast is all still alive too, with the exception of the guy who played Coach. He died in like the 80s. But everyone else is still alive. Bring back Cheers. They can be geriatrics operating in that same fucking sad bar.
Cheers 2, Drink Harder.
Oh, 2 cheers. That show, really suffered in quality when Diane left, Shelley Long. They got what's her name, Rebecca Howe, Kirstie Alley, and she wasn't as good.
Okay.
So, Boken. You've been playing some Final Fantasy XIV.
I've been playing the hit MMORPG, Final Fantasy XIV.
The critically acclaimed.
Yes.
Are you
I just
playing
want to
free trial?
Are you
just
aware
for the
that you
record
can
here,
get the full game for free up to 60 levels?
Are you aware that's bullshit?
What?
No, it's not.
Let me tell you. First of all, I want to say we have this shitty rule that you're only allowed to talk about a topic once.
Yes.
And I don't care about that rule anymore. I'm
No,
not going
well,
to talk
you guys
about
have
Final
never cared
Fantasy
about the rule.
one.
This is like the 5th time we're talking about this fucking game.
Okay, good. So we all agree that we will keep talking about Final Fantasy.
I don't
Yes.
want
Well,
to. I want to talk about King of
So wait a
Queens.
minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. What do you mean it's bullshit?
Well, you can get a free trial. The problem is, all my friends play on a high pop server, and that means I need to get in a queue to get on the server. And when you're on the trial period, then you don't even get to queue up. You could just get booted out of the fucking game. So I couldn't get into the game at all.
Daniel, is this true?
I did not have that problem.
I didn't have it for like 2 days, and then I heard about that problem, and I was like, well, this is working for me. And then no, at some point they just made me not able to queue up.
I was able to play the game pretty much for free for like at least like 150 hours until I got my Dragoon to level 59. And then that's when I was like, all right, I'll start paying.
But did you get into queues?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably fewer people were playing when Daniel started.
Maybe.
Yeah, that is something to consider.
Didn't
At
it
some point,
overtake?
when it gets so long that's when they decide to not let the newbies in anymore.
Didn't they just overtake World of Warcraft?
Yeah, they did.
That's crazy to me. The king is dead.
Yeah, World of Warcraft has been dethroned. But the thing is with that, I don't think that's really because of Final Fantasy. I think World of Warcraft.
What else could have happened?
Was what killed World of Warcraft.
I was totally wrong. I thought the whole Activision thing would just disappear overnight. Remember, Bogan? I was like, nothing will come of this. And then things happened.
Things kept escalating. And it's gotten worse and worse.
Well, because originally it was just like some guy is like the original story was like this guy's been accused of like being a total fucking dickhead. And then I was like, yeah, well, story is all this time. But it kept getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
It was like like by the point
the Cosby Room, the fucking Cosby
yeah, it's
Room.
like guys, what is like I like men are crawling under desks and looking up women's skirts. It was like what the fuck? And then you have the Cosby Room. It's like Jesus Christ! Like how much worse can this get?
What are these people doing?
It's not good. And then on top of that, just World of Warcraft isn't that good right now.
I feel like World of Warcraft, here's my hot prediction, and this may be a little bit of an uncomfortable prediction, given the recent accusations and very obvious... What's the... when it's an accusation, but it's real? Like an
accusation when it's real?
No, well, like... I feel like... Isn't there a different word when... I'm looking at, like... In light of all of the developments, it may be...
allegations?
No, not I was trying to find developments. In light of the developments over at Activision, this may be uncomfortable to hear. I think World of Warcraft is going to bounce back. That's my hot prediction.
Well, I think there's only two possibilities, right? Like, World of Warcraft, as it is, it can't keep going. Like, it's not going to stay the way it is. It's either that the team is going to restructure and fix itself, or it's going to die. I don't see how it could just keep going the way it is.
The game is not going to die. They are not going to kill off World of Warcraft.
I agree. I don't think they're going to let it die, because it
still makes money.
Too much of it still makes money. So I think they're going to realize that they've been fucking up and that they need to get their act together and fix it, because otherwise it is going to die.
Do you think they're going to... See, I think when I say bounce back, I think it will again overtake Final Fantasy XIV. I think it will get I think it can get a lot of people back, and I think it can grow again. Do you think get its shit together, they'll just stop bleeding the player base?
I mean, haven't they always been bleeding the player base?
Yeah, but not to the extent that they've been doing recently, though.
No.
Right?
But
no.
I feel like it's still on the decline anyway.
Here's the thing, though. I feel like it is definitely possible for them to overtake Final Fantasy again. But I feel like a lot of the players that have migrated from WoW to FF14, I don't think that they're going to immediately jump back. I think World of Warcraft would have to make some substantial differences. They would have to make a lot of changes to win back the trust. Because you have to think of it this way. It's like being in a 2-decade relationship with, like, abusive relationship with someone. In the beginning of the relationship, it was great. Y'all were having like amazing sex and it was awesome. But then eventually they kept coming home drunk and beating you. Like, they kept coming home drunk. They kept beating you. You know, you kept going to work with black eyes, and eventually you just get sick of that shit. And, you know, Final Fantasy 14 comes around, you know,
and it's like,
with bigger knockers,
and it's like,
and,
hello,
bakes cookies for
hello,
you.
I'm free for the first 60 levels. But then you gotta pay.
Now, I think a lot of people for the longest time stuck around with World of Warcraft because there was a sort of comfort in World of Warcraft. Even though World of Warcraft was declining in quality, a lot of those people stuck with it, you know, because
it's what
there's
you know.
that sense of familiarity.
But I would also say that a lot of it was just inertia. It's very hard to get people moving from A to B. Like, all my friends play World of Warcraft. I'm not going to be the only one playing Final Fantasy XIV. Like, this is my groove. And I feel like once you have such a mass exodus, maybe it's very difficult to get them back.
But also, I don't know, World of Warcraft hasn't always been declining. I guess I don't know if the player base has always been going down, because at some point, like Wrath of the Lich King, they just had so many players, there was no way to sustain that. But in terms of how the game is perceived, they had good expansions and bad expansions. I mean, after Wrath of the Lich King was really high and well regarded, and then it just keeps going up and down. Like, Cataclysm was okay, Warlords of Draenor was a huge pile of shit. In between that was Mists of Pandaria with the pandas, you know, and that apparently, according to all World of Warcraft players, that was a great expansion at the end. And then you have then you had Warlords of Draenor, which everyone hates, and then after that was Legion, which everyone loved. Like, that was when the game was really popular. And then now you have Battle for Azeroth and now Shadowlands, and those two were apparently among the worst expansions. So it's only been the last 2.5 years, I think, where even veterans of the game are getting really tired of it.
That's a long time, though. Like, 2.5 years is a really long time for a game to just be A
lot of World of Warcraft players don't play anything else.
So I also want to bring up, there's a video by a YouTuber named Bellular. And he has recently, a couple of days ago at this point, came out with a video called WoW's Health, The Numbers Don't Lie. Here's what we discovered. And basically, he basically crunched the numbers and showed the recent state of the player base. And here's the thing, when he gathered this information, this was before the lawsuit. And the numbers were already looking pretty bad. Basically, like, within the span of these expansions, the player base went from like 6 million to like 2 million.
Oh, yeah, that's really bad.
That's huge. And here's the thing, though. And here's another thing you need to consider. Those numbers were counting... Well, didn't take alternate accounts into consideration. So the actual physical amount of people playing the game is even less than that.
Yeah.
When you consider alternate accounts by the same person.
But does it matter? Because you're just counting subscribers, and subscribers are money.
Mm-hmm. Sure. But like the point is, like, the game's in a bad state right now, and this was before the lawsuits and stuff and the allegations came out.
No one liked BFA, and Shadowlands had potential, but people are realizing that the core mechanics of the expansion are shite.
But yeah, it's like a 20-minute video talking about the numbers, so I don't like recommend going out and watching it if that sounds kind of dry. But if you I do suggest checking it out if you are curious and you're like, okay, what are the stats? But getting away from that, because I think we got a little too deep into World of Warcraft itself. I want to ask, what level are you right now in 14?
39.
Okay, so you went from an Arcanist to a Summoner.
Well, to be fair, I did start as a Lancer, and then I was
these
like...
All these words that mean nothing to me.
I want to fight with a book. And then I re-leveled Arcanist, and then I became a Summoner, yes.
Gotcha. So, do you recall what level the MSQ is, like the main story quest?
I'm above the level of the MSQ. I like 34 or 35, something.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know. Can I spoil? Is that really a spoiler?
Yeah, you could spoil. Go ahead.
I just defeated Titan. And
Okay,
did
yeah,
a couple quests after that.
All right. Yeah. So, how do you feel about the game so far?
It's pretty meh.
Pretty meh.
The gameplay is fun. The rotation of the character so far is okay, but I don't expect much because, the rotation should really pick up towards the end. Kind of. But I feel like the story and the pacing are fucking trash. The quests are not good in this game. In the beginning, in A Realm Reborn or whatever. It's
I would agree that in A Realm Reborn, the pacing of the story is not very good, and the story itself in A Realm Reborn is just kind of standard.
Yeah,
like it's not especially good or bad. It's just kind of there.
There was a very good moment after you defeat Titan, and you return to your base. That was cool, but otherwise, it's a lot of, the evil empire is coming, and we remember the great heroes of the light. And that's where the morality ends. It's so weird to me that we are living in this world where everyone can just keep summoning the primals, and it's this huge, life-threatening problem, and they just can't do anything about it? Like, you can fucking defeat Ifrit over and over again, and the Beastmen are still gonna keep summoning Ifrit to, I don't know, dominate the world again? Just, how do you live with that? At that point, I would just fucking genocide everything that isn't my own tribe. Just fucking be done with it. There's no solution to this problem.
You've been playing too much racist in Disco Elysium, Bogan.
No, for real though.
Yeah, for real though.
They can just keep doing it. I don't. I guess maybe this is brought up at some point in the story, but I feel like more people should be like we need to kill every fucking Ixal and we need to kill every fucking kobold if they won't stop summoning their prime deities to fuck us over. Like, enough is enough. That's my take on this story.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not quite that simple, but no, I hear you. The story does go over it, but I would say to hang tight for a bit. It gets better as it goes along. One thing in particular that I really like about with the primals, story-wise, is how they enthrall people. Like they kind of like brainwash them into just like serving them. I always thought that was really interesting.
Sure. That's another thing though, where isn't it kind of racist of the game that all the tribes that keep summoning these deities and get corrupted are all the non-playable sort of humanoid tribes? Like the ones that actually look like humans? Or, you know what I mean? Every enemy tribe is some fucked up reptile or some kind of monstrosity. With the exception of these fairies. And all the good races look like humans. Or close to humans.
I'm not gonna say anything. Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything. Just know that you're gonna learn some stuff.
I see.
And I think the way that you look at things will be different.
Okay.
That's all I can say.
The quests are fucking shit. Like, the game goes out of its way to make you talk to 5 different NPCs to get progress in a quest.
Oh yeah, so you can fight Titan. Yeah, okay, that's the only time the game does anything that egregious.
No, it keeps doing it over and over.
Well, no, that one in particular was like really egregious. Well, like I'm saying it doesn't go that far again.
Sure, but it's the game. You can really see how the quests are designed to send you around the world so many times where it isn't really needed. Like just, you need to talk to this guy to get that information, but he doesn't have that information. But he knows the other person that has that information. You need to go over there then. And then that person doesn't want to talk to you before you help her. And so now you need to do this other quest, and then you need to return, and then she will tell you where the actual person with the information is. And it's like, the first guy could have just given me the information and I could be on my way, but no.
Somebody's phone is ringing.
Yeah, that's not me.
Okay.
Yeah, but I hear that the quests in World of Warcraft weren't much better.
No, that's not true. They have gotten a lot better. And also, what I like about World of Warcraft quests is that they are very regionally focused. Like, all the regions have their own little storylines that you play through. Mm-hmm. And you don't need to constantly go to other regions and waste time. And that is more part of the modern later expansions and how their areas have been designed, but they got around to it at some point. I don't know if Final Fantasy will get better. I mean, I'm playing the 2011 content.
Yeah, I was going to say, you do have to keep in mind that A Realm Reborn came out like 2012, 2013, something like that. So like you are playing like content that's like a decade old at this point.
Yeah, it looks like that too.
Yeah. And yeah, like once you start hitting the expansions, the quality jumps up a lot. Like the the dungeons get a lot better. The boss fights get a lot better. The quests get a lot better. Like everything gets much smoother. And yeah, you're kind of in a rough spot right now. But you also have to consider that like the version of the game that you're playing now has been patched over and over again. So you are still, even though you're playing through this old content, you're playing the best version of this old content. It used to be a lot worse.
Cool. I mean, yeah, I heard it's gonna get better. I'm not impressed with what I've seen so far, but I'm sure it will get better at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of felt similarly as you did when I was around that part of the game, where I was just like, it's enjoyable enough, going around, leveling up and stuff. Story's interesting enough, but there will come a point where things click and it's like, oh, okay, this is that good shit. But and I'm sure for some people listening, it's like, well, that's a pretty hard sell, like the game's gonna be kind of for a while until it gets good, and yeah, but I think that's how it is for a lot of MMOs. Like it takes a while before things like really fall into place.
Yeah, it is kind of a hard sell because it takes a lot of time.
But at the same time, I also feel like going through that endears yourself to the game more. Because like it's almost like a rite of passage in a way where like you get through like the rough stuff first, and then when you get to like the really good stuff, you'll almost kind of like feel like, oh wow, all the stuff that I went through it's building on all of that, and it feels like it was all worth it.
Well, I'll see.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about it, or that's it?
Nah, it's fine.
It's fine. Okay. So, recently I started playing Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't have too much to say about it just because I'm still like in like the second chapter. I just got to the part where the game starts to open up. And so far, the graphics are obviously like amazing. The game feels good. Guns feel good. The acting in the cutscenes is pretty spectacular. It's some of the best that I've seen in a game. Like, it's the cutscenes and the cutscene direction overall is really, really good. And the character writing is good. So for the story, though, so far, not much is really happening. Like, I'm not really sure, like, what... Not that this is necessarily a bad thing, but I'm, like... And it is still early on, but, like, I'm not really sure, like, what the goal is or, like, what... It's kind of hard to say, but...
It's just like Final Fantasy. It takes a lot of time to establish itself.
Have you played this game?
Yes. And I've played the story up to a part, and then it just took too much time for me. Like even rushing through the story, it takes so much time.
Okay.
But what I played up until that point was good.
Yeah. I promised a friend of mine I would beat it, so I am determined to beat it. And not that I'm like forcing myself. It's not like, oh my god, this fucking game. But just that, yeah, like it's like a pretty slow paced game. It really, it's something that it takes its time, and I think you need to be in the right mood for something like that.
Was it Dom?
Yeah.
Guess how I know.
So that's all I have to say about it so far. It's pretty good, but I don't have much else to say about it.
That game, yeah, it's. I feel like for me at least, I had a lot of fun with that game early on, and then it just got too much. Like there's just too much freedom in that game.
Actually, I will say that one of the things that bothered me once the game opened up was that like it was kind of overwhelming, the amount of like stuff there is.
The psychotic level of detail in everything you can do. It's
Yeah,
impressive. It's cool. It's wild that they did it, but oh my god.
It feels really unnecessary as well. It's like, oh, depending on the clothes that you wear, it affects Arthur's temperature. And it's like, I just want to wear cool clothes for my main character. I don't want to have to worry about, oh, it's a hot day out. He should actually be wearing like a light shirt and pants. It's like, no, I want him to wear the fucking coat because it looks cool. You know, it's like,
yeah.
And
going back
like,
to camp every night because you need to eat food and need to sleep.
You need food. You need to donate to the camp. You need to shave. You need to clean your guns and repair them. And when you go out hunting, you have to skin animals and shit.
You need
and
to
it's
drag the skins back to a seller or like a buyer. It just takes so long. I spent so much time trying to kill a moose.
Like you have your own bag, and then like your horse has like a separate inventory screen. It's like, it's so much.
Yeah.
I'm hoping at some point like I play it enough and it starts to, I'll start to like kind of parse out like, okay, I don't need to focus on this stuff, and I'll just get used to like this other stuff, and hopefully it kind of starts to make more sense, because right now it just feels like too much. The total opposite of that, however, is this game called Dusk. It's a first-person shooter that's heavily inspired by Quake. As the kids call him, it's one of them boomer shooters. Very, very retro style. And I beat the first episode. There's 3 episodes. Each episode has 10 levels, 10 missions. And it's really good. It's there's like no story. It literally just plops you in, and it's like, go kill things. And that's the game. So I would say, like, if you grew up playing like Doom, Wolfenstein 3D, Quake, all those like Ravensoft first-person shooters, like, you would probably really enjoy this game. I'm enjoying it so far. I think it's a fun game. It has great game feel, and I think that more than anything is what keeps me playing, is that guns just feel good to shoot. Like, the game has a nice sense of speed to it. I like aim. I just love like aiming and the super shotgun at something's face and just blowing them away. The guns are kind of standard. It's like you got your pistol, your shotgun, you got an assault rifle, but there are a few cool ones. There's like a rivet gun, and there's a crossbow that like pierces through enemies. But at the same time, I kind of wish that the guns were a little bit more inventive. But at the same time, it's like, well, it's homaging like these old school shooters. So I, kind of give it a pass. But if you're like really into boomer shooters, this is a good one.
This is one of them.
And it's a very good one.
Sure,
a very, very
shooter.
good one.
You know what's another boomer shooter?
Ion Fury.
No. Left
Doom.
4 Dead.
Oh.
Because
Left 4
there's
Dead isn't a
boomers in the
boomer
game,
shooter.
and then there's boomers in the game, and then you shoot them.
No, there's zombies in the game, Boken.
But one of them is called a boomer.
No, it's called a zombie.
No, it's called a boomer. I'm
Who's
pretty sure
on
they're not even
first?
called zombies. They have some other name for it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Zambambos.
Oh, yeah, goddammit. That's one of those, like,
Zambambos.
the Walking Dead era where everything is a zombie, but we don't refer to anything as zombies.
Yep.
Fuck.
Just like in The Walking Dead, they're walkers.
Yeah, and they're also lame brains and, like, lurkers, I think. It's like every word but zombie. How clever.
Yeah, in Last of Us clickers.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
All right, enough of all that shit, though.
I'll pay it out for The Last of Us. Those are different enough that, like, I wouldn't call those zombies.
Okay. Yeah, granted, in Last of Us, they're different enough. That's fair. But anyways, it's time to talk about the new Tales game.
I was so hoping you were going to say, it's time to grab a cup of coffee, and I was like, yes, I can stand up for a second.
I'm already drinking my coffee.
I finished mine.
So, Tales of Arise comes out on September 10th, but they decided to release the demo on Friday, as of this recording, which was very nice. And as the resident Tales nerd, I have beaten the demo twice.
Okay.
Right? And I can safely say that this is going to be one of the good ones. So I was kind of wrestling with how to approach this, because I kind of realized I can't go too in depth about the history of the combat systems in the previous entries, because then I'll just be talking forever. But I'm going to try and just talk about like the games that I think are most relevant to this one, which would be Tales of Xillia and Tales of Berseria. So, and for those curious, this demo's not really story heavy at all. Like, I think the story quote unquote that they crafted for this demo was just for the demo, and it's literally just you run around an area and there's a boss you can beat, and once you beat the boss, that's it. That's the end of the demo. So nothing really to talk about on that end. So it's all gameplay here, baby. It's all just combat. So
don't spoil the combat for me.
Shut up. The two games I think are most relevant to Tales of Arise is Tales of Xillia and Tales of Berseria in terms of combat. So Tales combat has always been like inspired by fighting games. Like this was since like the first entry. You know, if you were to look up footage of the very first Tales game, it literally felt like the dev team were like really big fans of Street Fighter 2, and they were like, we should put this in a RPG, and that's what they did. And that has kind of carried over for like the rest of the series. But obviously, like each game has their own like quirks, their own unique like takes and stuff. So Tales of Xillia was one of my favorites because of the combat. And the reason why is because it offered the most flexibility in how you created your combos. I forget the actual name of the system, but like I think it was like the AP system or something. But like it basically had it so that as you leveled up, you can increase your combo string. So like you can do attacks like one after another. But one of the things I always thought was really good that the Tales series was always good about this is like it not criticized, but it disincentivizes the player from what the East series has been guilty of, which is mashing the same attack. If you try to do the same attack over and over again, it starts doing less damage. So like if you're just doing Demon Fang, Demon Fang, Demon Fang, Demon Fang, it'll go from like 200 damage to like, 150 to like, 50 damage. It's basically telling you, hey, cut that out. Don't do that. So, and in doing so, it actually pushes the player to come up with more interesting combos, to like experiment and like try different things. And depending on the situation, you want to do different combos because
this feels it feels like they're ripping off the hoverboard sections from the Jack games, because those would give you less scores if you just did the same trick over and over again.
I'd actually say they're ripping off Devil May Cry, but sure. Because Devil May Cry, if you if you try to do the same attacks over and over again, your style meter goes down, and you don't get as many rewards if you do that.
Daniel, I literally stingered my way through the first game. Okay.
That's
But
not
you didn't
that's
get
not
a
good.
score.
I don't care about scores.
Also, you play on easy.
No, not the first game, just the last game, 5.
Anyways, so so the thing that with Tales of Xillia is that it still kind of looks like a fighting game, and that still has that like side view. Tales of Berseria, on the other hand, they made it so that you can kind of run around freely. So think of Tales of Xillia kind of like Tekken, where like when you're facing your opponent, right? And like even if your opponent knocks you to the left or whatever, your character still gets up and they're still facing the opponent, and it's still like you're moving left and right. That's how Tales of Xillia was. But in Tales of Berseria, they got rid of that, and you can move more freely in the battlefield. And that's how it is in Tales of Arise. Now, Tales of Arise, by combining the freedom of combo expression in Tales of Xillia with the more open movement in Berseria, has some of the best combat, in my opinion, so far in the series. It has this nice incorporation of some of the modern elements and some of the old school elements. And on top of that, it adds its own unique flavors, like aerial combat. So far, I feel like this game has a lot going for it. It's because I feel like some of the recent entries have kind of like lost their way with the combat systems, and I feel like this one, it's bringing back like tech. It's bringing back like, hey, you could do like stupid shit that like isn't even like necessary. But like I saw a video of some guy that like they found a move that a character could do that elevates them, and they just kept like using it over and over again until they hit like the ceiling, just because the game allowed them to do that. So
cool.
I really love shit like that, and I really love the fact that this game allows you to just like kind of craft your combos the way you want to, because another problem I had with Berseria was they focused too much on elemental weaknesses and shit. It was just like boring, just like, oh, he's weak against fire, I need to use fire. It sucked. It fucking sucked. So I'm glad they got rid of that, and they're back to, hey, we're giving you all these types of attacks, and we're just going to throw you in different situations where different attacks are going to be useful in different situations, and you need to react on the fly. So here you go. So yeah, so far, I really enjoy this game, the demo at least. I'm looking forward to the full game. It looks like this is going to be another winner.
All right.
And I'm sorry for boring you all with my technical jargon about Tales, but I needed to get it out there.
You'll never be forgiven.
Never.
Do you have any idea how much Yu-Gi-Oh? Do you have any idea how much Yu-Gi-Oh I have to talk about to win the people back?
You can leave that for the next episode. You already talked about Shadow Tower Abyss. That's all you got.
That's true.
All right, we're gonna be taking a break, and we're gonna be coming back with our talk about games.
Now the question is, do I dare make a tortilla in the break to eat after the episode? Stick around to find out.
No, because the break is only going to be 3 minutes.
No, but the topic is going to be like maybe 10 minutes or whatever, and then my tortilla will be ready. We'll see. Bogan,
What?
I'll keep you in suspense.
But then you didn't make it in the break. Then you made it during the discussion.
No, I'm putting everything on the pan. I'm heating everything up. I'm like, when the discussion, I'll do that in the break, and when the discussion is done, then I go in and I put it all on the thing, the pancake thing, and I'll have it ready.
Probably going to be talking for longer than 10 minutes.
Well, not that much longer. We'll see. We'll see. I'll keep you in suspense.
Are we still recording? Are we still pre-break?
No, when I said what the topic was and that we'd be right back, in my mind, everything said afterwards was edited out.
Okay.
I think it depends on who edits. Guys, they came out with new ritual support. It's called Drytron, but it doesn't do anything for fucking Chaos Ritual. What am I supposed to do?
Don't give a shit. I'm making something to drink.
You can do that.
Be right back.
Burp, 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 burp. You know, I also think one problem with World of Warcraft, it has a lot of like entry-level inertia. Where, hello kids, you can either play Final Fantasy XIV or you can play this MMO from 2002. So I don't know how they're gonna hook the youngins.
And we're back.
Yes.
Back at it again. And this time, we're talking about game difficulty. So Boken, what made you want to talk about this? Why are you?
I guess it's not game difficulty. It's more the specific question: should games have an easy mode?
Oh, it's this tired fucking
What did you think this was, Daniel?
dead horse.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but okay. So what's your take? What's your hot take?
I don't have a hot take. I just see this question get brought up
Is it
again
smoldering?
and again. I mean, we all have seen this discourse just popping up every other month.
Oh, yes.
It just doesn't fucking stop.
Yeah.
There are only like 3 questions on gaming Twitter. It's difficulty, it's what is the best Sonic fucking whatever, and it's what's a dumb third thing. It's like microtransactions or some shit. And gaming Twitter just repeats these same because they don't have minds. That's the thing. They just they just jump on it and then they just throw their opinions at it, and they're not real opinions because these people can't think. That's my hot take.
Asa putting down the sheep.
Wake up, sheeple.
So my hot take is that yes, every game should have an easy mode, and everyone who says differently is crazy. And I've gone over this discussion so many times on Twitter now. I don't see any sensible argument against this notion. And with a qualifier that I'm talking specifically about single-player games, not multiplayer games.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, not sure how you could put an easy mode in like a multiplayer deathmatch.
Wait, how do you classify Dark Souls then? Because that has a multiplayer.
Dark Souls is difficult.
I suppose
Yeah.
because you don't want to
I would argue. I would argue that Dark Souls should have an easy mode. It's
Only when you're playing offline.
yeah, I guess so. I guess
Like-
the moment you go human or the moment someone enters your game, maybe that should be turned off. I'm not sure how I would solve it in Dark Souls specifically.
Well-
That's a really weird
in
online system.
In Bloodborne, when you start the game, it asks you, do you want to play offline or online? So they could have it so that if you're playing online, the difficulty is fixed. But if you're playing offline, then you could change the difficulty.
Sure.
I think that's the only thing that makes sense.
And I'm not even saying it needs to be specifically an easy mode. It can also be whatever. I think there was an example where there was some kind of cheat code that you could just unlock for, I think there's a Steam version of Final Fantasy VII where you can just press a button and instantly refill your party's HP and mana as much as you want.
Yeah.
I feel
that is the solution. You can fucking activate God mode. You can create an actual easy mode. My point is more, I think it makes sense to me that every game should be completable with a very easy setting that everyone can beat.
But the gamers.
Daniel, ask me what my hot take is.
Acer,
Yes.
what is your hot take?
Great question, Daniel. Great question. I think if the developers want to put on easy mode, put on easy mode. If they don't want to, don't pester them.
I disagree.
I'm coming at this very specifically from the idea that I don't know how much we want to use Dark Souls as a cornerstone for this talk, because we are never not talking Dark Souls. But
has there ever been an episode of this podcast where Dark Souls was not mentioned at least fucking once?
We've had a few, but I've actually kept a tally. Most episodes have had a Dark Souls talk. But for Dark Souls,
I'm not surprised.
For Dark Souls specifically and Demon Souls, I don't think those games would have blown up the way they did if they would have had an easy mode, because I think regardless of quality design, those games were sold, marketed, and they became popular specifically because of the difficulty. And I don't think that success of those games would have been replicated without it. But I'm also, this maybe speaks a bit outside of specifically difficulty. I am very uncomfortable with the idea that gamers expect games to be moldable rather than gamers adjust to the game's standards. It's on a gradient, but I think certain things. Because I don't think gamers have the first clue about what they like, and I also don't like the idea that,
they're also extremely entitled.
Yeah, but I'm coming more at it from the perspective of, you're not gonna get any innovation if every game constantly is dragged down just to the mean, just to whatever the mouth breathers. Again, I go at the sheeple. Wake up, sheeple. I think it's very damaging to experimentation that every game has. I don't think every game should be available for everyone, because I don't think anything that has really universal appeal can be that great, if that makes sense.
I disagree, because I don't think an easy mode means universal appeal. I think you can very clearly, as a game developer, state how you want your game to be played, like what your intention with the game is, and then you can throw some kind of cheaply, it doesn't even need to be, I mean, I don't know how much it takes as resources to create some kind of easy mode, but I think you can throw some kind of easy mode solution on top that doesn't need to take away from the game. You can even say, no, there are only two modes. There's an easy mode, and then there's the intended way to play. But you should, I believe you should still give everyone that option.
I feel I feel that's damaging, because again, I go specifically to Dark Souls. I wonder how many people would have swallowed down and actually learned the game if they could have just changed the difficulty. And I'm also skeptical that whether or not you specifically state this is the intended way to play, I don't know if people, when they give you feedback, I don't know if they're going to respect that.
So there's a game called Celeste.
No, there isn't.
You guys played this game?
I've never heard of such a game, and I refuse to believe it exists.
Boken, I believe you played this game.
I've beaten it.
Yeah, I know what game it is.
So Celeste has a wonderful option that I think is great. I forget exactly what it's called, but it has a mode where when you click on it, it explicitly states that this is not the intended way to play the game. However, that you can use it to help you along if you are finding the game to be too difficult. And it essentially allows you to tweak several elements of the game in order to make it easier for yourself. And I saw a video of someone who has some physical handicaps, and at the normal difficulty, this person was not able to play the game properly. But because this accessibility mode was implemented at the game, they were able to tweak it, and they were able to actually play and enjoy the game because of it. So, from my perspective, I feel that it's the difficulty is less important than it is to have options that make the game accessible for people that are suffering from any sort of like physical disabilities. So
I don't think it needs only to be physical disabilities. It can just be lack of skill. It can be lack of time that you can invest into a game. I don't see why that needs to be, why people who don't have a lot of time to play games or who just aren't good at something need to be excluded from beating a game just in some easy form, because it just doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me. If people aren't willing to just bite their way through Dark Souls and learn the game the hard way, then fine, don't. I don't fucking care.
I'm not saying. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
No,
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
I wasn't directing this at you. I was just extending my own argument.
What I'm saying is I don't think that is as important as making game options for people that are physically unable to enjoy these games. I think the two kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
When you introduce these options targeted at these individuals, then it naturally allows for people that are unskillful or don't have the time to also utilize those options and to make the game more enjoyable for themselves.
Yeah, like physically handicapped people are, of course, another part of the population that would benefit from just quote-unquote forced easy mode on every game.
Yeah, because I don't think just adding an easy mode to everything is a solution.
I also don't think...
I think there needs...
just a slight detour. I don't think an easy mode is often what the people are asking for.
Who are the people and what are they asking for?
Well, when they say easy mode, I don't think they understand what an easy mode for every game would look like. Like, again, if we just go back to Dark Souls, I don't think a Dark Souls easy mode, like, if you scale down the damage values and change the hit point and armor class defenses and stuff like that, I don't think that would do much to actually address what the people who are asking for easy modes in those games, what they are asking for. I think what they're asking for more so is direction. I think they want the game... I think the difficulty problem in Dark Souls is more a question of there's no real... Other than level design, I guess, there's nothing really directing you from A to B except very obvious, very easily missable dialogues. And
no, I don't think that's true.
Well,
I don't think anyone who wants an easy mode in Dark Souls wants that because they can't find their way throughout the game. It's because they make their way through Undead Burg and then they get fucking smashed by the Taurus demon and then they stop playing.
Sure, but let's if you imagine a hypothetical easy mode, how long do you think you'll actually manage? Because I think the problem with just changing the damage values is that you're only pushing the the wall at which you need to learn the fundamentals of the game. You're just moving it a bit further back. So
why? When the whole game is easy, when no
no,
enemy
because
can
the game
really damage you?
because the game continually ratchets up in damage, unless you're talking just about a god mode.
No, yeah, that's an easy mode, right? It's the basically no enemy really poses a threat to you. It's not. I'm not saying easy difficulty. I'm saying an easy mode that makes it trivial to beat the game.
Yeah, I think those people can fuck off.
Why?
Because I don't want them playing these games. I'm very I'm very
Why?
I'm very vulnerable, I guess, to the idea that you're gonna not play the game as intended, and you're still just gonna It makes me feel
Why does
very
it matter to
uncomfortable.
you how
I
these
can't
people
tell
play
you
the
why
game?
it makes me uncomfortable, but it makes me very uncomfortable.
But okay, but what about what Celeste did, where the game explicitly says like, "Hey, this isn't the way the game was intended," but we understand not everyone has the time, or they may
I
have,
guess,
or they just can't play the game this way. So here's some options that you can tweak so that the game is more accessible.
yeah, I guess.
Well, what's wrong
I
with
guess
that?
I guess I'm hung up on the Elder Scrolls. I think that's what I'm afraid of. Where Morrowind is a great game, and it does so well that it gets the normies in, and the normies complain about the walking speed. They complain about all of these little things that made the game great. For like that, it is a role playing game. Like for example, combat. It's a dice roll because it's not about your actual positioning in combat as much as it is about your character's level. Because you're supposed to be role-playing as this character. They complain about that, and so they dumb it down continually, and now we get to Skyrim, which is just... It's Morrowind, but because of feedback from people who don't appreciate the game on its own terms, we have stripped all of that out.
So okay, so basically your fear is that future games, like future Souls games, for example, at an attempt to appease the masses,
well, not
not
necessarily appease the masses. I'm just like,
you're just
I
afraid
don't
that
know.
it's sanding off all the unique elements.
Well, I'm very afraid of the idea of bad feed. I don't know if FromSoft can tell bad feedback from good feedback. I don't think any developer can when your identity is so malleable. Your game's identity is so malleable.
Okay, I have two counter arguments to this. First of all, easy modes have always existed. And Dark Souls still exists too. There are a lot of difficult games that have easy modes that make the game trivial to some extent.
Not Dark
They're
Souls.
just not.
Well,
Dark
they have
Souls,
they
no,
have a
but
they
there
have it
have
built
been-
in, but not from the menu.
There
I
have been
guess.
games like this for decades, and Dark Souls still came out as a really difficult game. So it's not that the existence of easy modes excludes difficult games from being made. And when you compare this to Elder Scrolls, the difference is they dumbed down Skyrim and made it the core game because they wanted to bring in everybody and make as much money as possible. But this is different from making, say, a Morrowind where there's a specifically designed and designated easy mode that you let people know this is not the intended way to play, but if you can't beat the game, then go with this one and just have fun. You know? Like that is where I actually think an easy mode could also just help game development because it's a specifically restricted way to play the game that does not reflect the actual core game and does not affect the core game. The core game can still be difficult. You just let all the people who don't want to put the effort in play the low effort version.
See, I don't think that addresses my concern though, because again you're fracturing the feedback mechanism. If you do that, I don't know.
But why? I don't know. I think ideally people wouldn't complain that the game needs to be dumbed down if there's already a really dumbed down
but
branch of the game.
If they let's say hypothetically they had that, and then they start saying, you know what, these elements are what I like about the game, And if you amplify those elements, those elements amplified in the God mode version might make the God mode version better. But if you amplify them in the difficult version, it might make the game worse.
Acer, from my perspective, you're not really talking about the game difficulty anymore. You're just talking about the games being the games catering towards what you think are like quote like bad feedback, and it's just diluting the games.
Yeah,
this really isn't.
But
it's really not about the difficulty. I think that's a separate discussion.
Very specifically in the context of Dark Souls, because that is a difficult game, and those games, like at their core, they are about difficulty. Miyazaki has explained that these games are about the sense of accomplishment you get from triumph.
And they still can be that, but for people, and this is my point actually, that this is just overall I guess, where I just can't fathom why anyone would be against this. It doesn't concern you how other people play the game or how they beat the game. If someone just wants to see the cool architecture or the cool monster design of Dark Souls and experience that for themselves, or they just want to explore the world without stress, then I don't care. Like,
if you just want a map view, I don't care about a map viewer. Like, if you just want a map viewer, fine, make a map viewer, that's fine. But the idea that it doesn't concern me that these people are then going to buy the game and they're going to give their opinions about a different experience, I don't buy that.
What do you care what kind of experience they have? No,
Bogan. It's not about the experience they have. It's about the feedback they leave and about me not getting another Morrowind because there are more of them who want Skyrim.
Yeah, but that happened without easy modes. That happened without what I'm talking about. That is always going to be a thing.
What, that games get dumbed down?
Yeah.
I don't think that's true. If the game only gets dumbed down...
I mean, Morrowind had an easy mode.
Yeah, sure. I'm not saying that Morrowind died because of an easy mode. So what I'm saying is, as that series progresses, it gets an influx of people who don't appreciate the RPG heart of these games. And in that transition, the RPG, that gets stripped out in favor of a more wishy-washy, just action adventure game, where you walk around the map. And for Dark Souls, hold on. For Dark Souls, I'm saying if you if you invite people in, because the difficulty is a good gatekeeping mechanism, but if you give the option to just strip that out, then you invite people who don't appreciate these games for their core aspiration, and I don't see what mechanism you put in place to assure that the same fate doesn't befall the game.
By keeping the modes completely separate and making it clear that one is the intended way to play and one isn't. And I think
I have no faith in that.
It's kind of condescending of you to say that they don't appreciate the game for what it is, when maybe they appreciate aspects of it clearly. They just aren't able to play it and see it all for themselves.
Sure. I'm not saying they can't appreciate anything. I'm saying if you like, Morrowind at its core is about role playing. Skyrim at its core is not. Dark Souls at its core is about difficulty. I don't know what it becomes about. Like, you can appreciate a lot of things about Skyrim, but I don't appreciate the role playing in that because I don't think it's as good as in Morrowind.
So let me ask.
Yes.
If let's say you have a book, and there's a Braille version and there's a audiobook version, would you say the people that enjoyed those versions of the book are not truly appreciating the book because they didn't physically hold it and read it?
No, that's not my argument.
That's silly, right?
No, that's not my argument, though. I'm not saying...
I know that's not your argument. But the point I'm making is that there needs to be concessions made so that more people can enjoy these experiences. And I think berating other people because they didn't enjoy it in a specific way is kind of silly.
It's very different for video games because the specific input mechanism is so core to the identity. Whereas if unless your appreciation of a book is the physical act of having it in your hands and reading the words, like unless that is specifically what you enjoy, I don't like an audiobook version or a braille version. I read a book for the story it contains, not for the aesthetic experience of having a book in my hand. I do play games for the aesthetic experience, more so than necessarily what is at the core of the experience, or what the experience is trying to convey. So I don't think it's a one-to-one.
It's not one-to-one, but at the same time, if somebody loves the atmosphere of Dark Souls, and they're not as invested in like the actual gameplay, what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that, but there is, I would say, and I don't want to make the objective qualifier because I might be wrong about this, but I do think there is something wrong about asking for specific concessions made, which can come back to bite the people who enjoy it for its core again later down the track. And
but that's under the presupposition that what these people want are going to adversely affect what you appreciate.
I think that has historically been the case.
But
I think that depends on the developer.
Sure, but again, I think that has historically been the case, and it's very specifically for FromSoft. Like I don't care about if Assassin's Creed only had one difficulty. I don't care. I don't play those games. But Dark Souls, I feel like FromSoft is the only studio that I kind of have left where I get excited about anything they do, and I'm not willing for this. I'm not willing to risk this one.
I don't understand how you put yourself down as like the true FromSoft enjoyer who understands exactly what their core ideal is.
Miyazaki has said
it. Hold on. But at the same time, you're so insecure in FromSoft actually holding the course of what they apparently want and intend their games to be, that it's like this frail house of cards that might come down at any point when some casual gets hold of the game.
Yeah, but that's already happened.
I don't get it.
That's already happened though.
How is this happened?
Like if you track the development from Demon's Souls, well, actually you can do a pretty one-to-one of Dark Souls and Dark Souls 3, and immediately you begin to see that the overemphasis of just combat, for example, because everybody loves the difficult combat, all of a sudden that becomes the point rather than the experience that combat was supposed to elicit. I don't think any developer is I don't think I don't think anybody is in tuned enough with themselves that bad feedback can't hurt you. I mean, we could just look at...
That can always happen, and that will always happen. But I don't think having some kind of separate easy mode is just going to ruin it.
I think that will... I think even if it gradually happens to everyone over time, I think once you... I think this is like opening the floodgates.
Why?
I told you why, because you get an influx of people giving feedback which is not necessarily beneficial to the core aspiration of the game.
No, it's not beneficial to what you want the game to be.
It may even be even be detrimental. But I think the more situational, like placement combat in in the Elder Scrolls, I think moving away from dice roll combat actually made those games worse if what you're going for is role-playing.
So you just lie awake at night,
no,
just praying that Miyazaki is not going to read the wrong Twitter comment, and then just everything in Dark Souls will fall apart and they will never make a good game again.
I don't lie awake thinking about it, but I do think about it a lot.
It's just you seem to, like, out of complete personal emotion, seem to be grasping towards some kind of ideal FromSoft game that may or may not happen. And this is your whole reasoning why people are not allowed to actually beat the game. Like, to just get some kind of easy mode.
Here's a very specific thing you can do right now, if you want to. Dark Souls has been out for over 10 years. It has a vibrant modding community. You can get the game on PC. I don't know what it costs, but if you want to, you can pirate it. And you can do all of this for free. You can install easy modes and actually try to play that game that way. I'm going to bet most people who try to do that are going to put it down. I think most people will put it down because, again, however, unless it's specifically God mode, if you're just changing the values under the hood, I think you just backlog the point at which you need to actually get the game at its fundamental.
I feel like the three of us are talking about like three different things that are vaguely in the same vicinity and are tangentially affecting each other.
It's possible.
I'm focused on, like, I feel like accessibility is more important than anything else here. Boken thinks everything should have an easy mode, just so lazy people can beat games.
See, but that's your framing already. They're lazy.
I'm kidding. That was a joke.
It's just my ultimate point is that it does not affect me how other people experience a game, and also I don't think it necessarily needs to. Well, okay, we can go back to Acer's argument.
Yeah, and Acer is concerned that he obviously, because it's happened with Elder Scrolls, with Morrowind moving up to Skyrim, he feels that by conceding and by catering to certain audiences, that the uniqueness and the rough edges that make these games what they are going to be sanded off. They're going to take the sander. They're going to get rid of it, and it's going to be nice and smooth. It's all going to be nice and smooth, and it's going to be appealing to everyone, but loved by no one.
Well, I have never seen a game which was beloved by a very specific niche become more accessible, become easier to play, I have never seen a game invite more people in under different terms and the subsequent games become better. I have seen the inverse many, many times.
You know what? I totally agree with you. I totally agree.
Okay.
But, I think this is a very natural way for a lot of franchises, because franchises become popular and then people try to make more money, and you make more money by inviting more people in and by, in a lot of cases, dumbing down whatever your product is so that it appeals to more people. This is universal. Like, this has nothing to do with a forced easy mode or not. This is going to happen, and it will happen. Probably to Dark Souls too. I don't know, or to From Software games, whatever.
I would say, that they haven't given us an easy mode is a big reason for why I would, your mileage may vary. I think their games are continually, whether or not they always hit, I think they're always much better than the general competition, and I think that's largely because of the difficulty mode.
Let's also be real here.
That it is inevitable to happen. I don't buy that arc. It is only inevitable if you don't put certain things in place to ensure yourself against it happening.
Look, From Software is a Japanese studio. They are still going to cater their games mostly to Japanese players. They're going to hear feedback from Japanese players. What we say Doesn't fucking matter.
Well,
From Software is going to do whatever the fuck they want.
There are probably also Japanese players who are going
to... Realistically, Acer, I don't think you have anything to worry about.
No, but Daniel, Japanese people are also going to play those. Like, again, unless you release the easy mode exclusively in the West for some reason, like, again, that it is localized in Japan, I don't think changes the equation at all.
Dude, fucking Demon Souls came out like 2006?
No, 2009.
Whatever. Like, okay, it's been like over a fucking decade. And these games are not that different. I mean, okay, obviously they're different from each other, but I mean in the sense of like this design philosophy has not changed like that drastically for the past like over 10 years. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm saying I don't think you have anything specifically to worry about with From Software.
Well, I mean, of course, but that's not really a fruitful line of arguing. Like I know I can't force every game developer on Earth to implement an easy mode, but I would like to discuss the question: if there was a way that I could force them, should I do it?
Yeah,
I'm saying is all of Acer's arguments have been centered around From Software and Bethesda, and so all I'm saying
not my initial argument.
The point is moot. I'm saying the point is moot because with From Software that's not really an issue. So I don't really think that I have a hard time really siding with you on this, Acer, because in the grander scheme of things, I don't think it's really a problem.
I can just two things. That it hasn't happened to FromSoft, yeah, because FromSoft hasn't given us the easy mode yet. That's a very easy counter argument. Whether or not you buy it or not, I can go there. But my initial argument was just that I am, as it related to difficulty, before we started talking about FromSoft, I believe my argument was that I'm just very skeptical of the idea that every game should be open. Like, I don't like the idea of the game molding itself to the audience. I think the audience kind of needs to adjust their own standards before they sit down.
And here's where I differ, is I don't think making some kind of extra easy mode that doesn't affect the core game means the game is molding itself to the audience. It just means you make your game and then you find some way, some accommodation that can be maybe picked at the start that lets people also just beat the game without hassle. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason they choose to.
You don't think that you're not worried about I want to say bad feedback, but when I say bad feedback, I'm very specifically talking about in the context of the core aspiration of the game.
First of
you're
all,
not worried about that long term.
First of all, I think bad feedback is going to happen regardless, but also I think it might actually help if they are clearly separated modes. And the people who have, like, you can track that stuff. You can track who has played easy mode and who doesn't.
Yeah,
and
but you read
will give feedback for the easy mode.
Yeah, but Bogan, you read the comments. Like, nobody is going to say, "I played this game on this difficulty mode, and let me tell you something. I really enjoyed this segment." When they're just commenting on YouTube, nobody's doing that.
Yeah, and so you next time know to keep when that person is talking about the easy mode, then that.
Yeah, but you don't know they're talking.
You can just keep the easy mode that way. If
you don't know if they're talking about the easy mode.
See, the thing is, I don't think developers would even. I don't think they're reading like individual comments and going based on that.
Yeah.
They're going based on what is the general consensus. They're going based on like, okay, what is the overall message that we're getting from players? Mm-hmm. I don't think they give it. They're not going to be reading these essay fucking like comments from individual players. They're just going based on like, okay, what is people generally saying? Oh, it seems that there's a lot of good feedback on X mechanic. Oh, there's a lot of bad feedback on Y mechanic. Mm-hmm. So I really don't think that like stray comments about
You can separate it from the individual.
Things is really going to matter.
You can separate it from the individual comments. Again, if you get enough of an influx of people playing the game on a different version, that's going to change. Like that is going. If you have a certain number of them saying it, then that's going to be absorbed into what seems to be the general consensus.
But saying what? Because you are afraid that too many people will ask for more accessibility and for the game being dumbed down. But really, when all the people who want accessibility have an accessibility mode that they can play, I don't think that many people would even ask for the dumbing down of the game. But they can just play their own version.
No, but they're playing their own version, and they like this mechanic, or they like, say, they like this level, they like this encounter, which plays better in the easy mode than it does in the intended mode. That's still bad feedback for me, who wants the next game to build on what they've set down here. I don't like the implementations you make for the easy mode, unless you're completely splitting the game in two, and the sequel is going to be, here's a game directed solely for the people who want the hard mode, and here's a game directed specifically for the people who want the God mode. Like I don't think you can do I don't think you can make the game palatable to both of them, because often mechanics that work well in one version are going to work worse in other versions.
I think you're losing yourself in hypotheticals of what people might say about mechanics that we haven't defined.
I will be willing to entertain the idea that it doesn't matter if somebody can point me to a niche game that became a better game once it got an influx of people who didn't appreciate its niche. If you can find me one example, I will be willing to entertain the notion that I'm being silly here. But I've looked and I haven't found it.
Again, this happens anyway.
Final Fantasy 14.
Nobody appreciated that niche. That game was a fucking mess.
Believe it or not, there were people that appreciated 1.0 when it was a trash fire.
Okay. And do they appreciate the version we look? That I'm willing to say that is not a good example.
It's not, because most people hated 1.0, but there were a small contingent of fans that kept 1.0 alive while they were remaking it and turning it into a different game.
Sure, but again, I don't think that's a good example, because that's a game that was like a broken game, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
This is not. I fully admit this is not the best example, but believe it or not, there are some people that still love that original version and don't like the current version.
Yeah, I guess I'm that guy for the hypothetical split timeline where they. I keep wanting to say normify, but I feel like that's such an elitist thing to say. Where they normify these games.
I'm talking about normies and sheeple.
Sheeple. I said sheeple. I said the sheeple part very, very jokingly.
You know how many people would tell you that Skyrim is a better game than Morrowind?
I don't care about those people or their opinions.
Well, okay.
They're free to play their game. They already destroyed. Already destroyed the Elder Scrolls for me, Boken. They already destroyed it for me. They stole it from me. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They already destroyed what I enjoyed about the Elder Scrolls.
And they took it. This podcast.
They took it and they destroyed a very beautiful game. I'm not willing to entertain letting them do the same to the FromSoft games.
Hey, Acer, you like System Shock, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about BioShock?
I like BioShock too, but I like it for very different reasons. And I like
System Shock 1 and 2 were very niche games.
Sure.
And the BioShock games sanded off all of those rough edges.
Sure, but I like BioShock, but BioShock is not as good as System Shock. Not as good as System Shock 2 specifically. And also, I would note, if you enjoyed System Shock 2, I don't think you've ever gotten a System Shock 2 since. You've gotten close to it, but you've...
What about Deus Ex?
Deus Ex, I don't think that's a System Shock 2 too. Like, that is a sequel to System Shock's sensibilities, but it veers...
I mean, it's close enough.
Well, I think it veers into different avenues, like the more open-ended narrative, for example. That's...
Oh, wait a minute. Cruelty Squad. There you go. That's your System Shock 2
I don't know what
Part 2.
Cruelty Squad is. I'll have to check that out.
I think it's a game that you would appreciate.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think this has gone on long enough.
Yeah.
I
Kind of
don't-
going in circles.
I don't know.
Asa, I think your arguments are extremely nebulous.
Yes, but you haven't actually made you haven't convinced me of anything
You have
else.
not made an argument,
I feel
sir.
like you're so emotionally invested in these two examples that there is no way to convince you.
Like I said,
also-
in the comments, if somebody wants to point me to an example, I'd be happy to look into it.
I already did. Final Fantasy 14.
No, but that's
Yeah,
an example of what I'm saying, Daniel. Where the people who enjoyed it because of what it was, they got screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but
So
Final
you
Fantasy 14.
can't win this argument then. Because there are people who
Final
like
Fantasy
the original
14 is-
thing, and once there's a change, those people got screwed. So it's always bad.
No, it's not. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that it's not for me anymore. Like, if I like the broken Final Fantasy Online, and they fixed it, and let's say I don't know if they did it, but if they made the original unplayable, I don't know if they did that or whatever, or if they did like a RuneScape thing where they still have old RuneScape servers up.
no, I'd say no, the original 1.0 version is unplayable. You can't. I think there might be some weird private illegal servers that you can, but under normal circumstances.
Which you
no.
you legally don't know if those servers exist, if anybody's listening. No, but and the same for the Elder Scrolls. Like, if these things change, and if you enjoyed it for what it was, then you kind of just get the short end of the stick. And you don't have to, because these games don't have to become accessible for everyone.
Hey, what about Legacy of Kain?
I've never played Legacy of Kain.
Like, the first game doesn't play anything like the rest of the series.
Okay.
So pretty much like everything that made that first game unique was like completely removed in the sequels.
Okay, and did the
This
people
is
who
true, and
enjoyed
then they made it a Tomb Raider, basically.
And they made it way better.
okay, and did people who enjoyed it, they enjoyed it the sequels more?
I mean, I did. I enjoyed the sequels more.
I think we'll
that's-
reconvene then after I've played the Legacy of Kain games.
I'll look back on Legacy of
as
Kain
the-
and the next commentary series by Acer.
As the resident Legacy of Kain expert, I would say that the first game has by far the best gameplay.
Wow.
But I still love all the games individually.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think the gameplay of the first game on paper has the best gameplay, but in execution, it's arguably the worst. It just plays like shit nowadays. It has aged terribly. And that's not to say the other games have aged
Soul
gracefully.
Reaver has
but,
aged like fucking ass.
Soul Reaver 2 is okay.
Yeah, because it requires nothing of you.
Defiance is all right.
Also very boring. But
Sure.
it's
Defiance's
playable.
Defiance's gameplay very poorly ripped off Devil May Cry.
I can give you an example right now, Street Fighter V. That's a game that I know a lot of people prefer over Street Fighter 4, even though it was pretty much dumbed down.
Okay. But I think you already
And-
said that... well, I suppose that's a different argument from the multiplayer argument from earlier. But
Yeah, it's a different
would
argument. But
would you yeah?
I know a lot of people who like 4 And I know a lot of people who started with 5 and they look at 4 and think, like, are you crazy? Those mechanics are way too complicated and way too difficult to pull off, you know. And I wouldn't even say that they are lazy for not wanting to learn the specific skill set that Street Fighter 4 needed. It's just, yeah, it was really difficult and it needed a lot of grinding out specific mechanics and combos. And Street Fighter 5 just focused on something else. And whether you think that's a better or worse game is pretty much up to debate. I think both have advantages and disadvantages.
Similar with Persona. The first like handful of Persona games are almost nothing like the modern ones. But like I wouldn't necessarily say that 1 and 2 are necessarily better or worse than like 3 to 5. They're just like at that point they're like they might as well be like different series because they're like so different.
I just thought about throwing Fire Emblem in your face, Daniel. Like, look at what they did. They added the waifus and they made it for more wide appeal. Look at it. Look at your argument.
Shut up.
What about XCOM?
You guys are gonna have to actually name some games that I've fucking played.
Well, you only play Silent Hill and FromSoft games.
No, that's not true.
What am I supposed to name?
That's not true.
What about Prince of Persia?
I've never played Prince of
Like
Persia.
who the fuck cares about the old like 2D Prince of Persia game?
Probably somebody.
Yeah, probably someone. And then when Sands of Time came out, they were probably like, "What the fuck is this garbage?"
But don't you think that they have a sense of ownership of it though?
They're entitled to
they're entitled.
Also, let's be real.
No, yeah, they're entitled.
Prince of Persia is actually an example of Acer's point, which is then that shitty 2008 game came out where you couldn't die and it was fucking trash. And it was way too easy.
Oh yeah, that game was that was a thing.
Yeah.
Like the thing, Acer, is yes. I'm with you because I also suffer from the dumbing down of a lot of franchises and also like shows and movies in a lot of ways. You
just aren't willing to actually acknowledge what needs to be done, Boken.
No, I don't follow your weird nebulous feedback argument because it's very, very hard to prove. And I, on the other hand, think if someone wants to beat a game on their own terms and they don't want to learn all the difficult mechanics of a game, then it doesn't affect me and just let them.
Okay.
I think a problem with this is also like what's the difference between a series that's just iterating and improving and tinkering and altering its formula and an attempt to improve the series, and what is it taking in bad feedback that's diluting what made it original and good in the first place? Like, you know, I was talking about the Tales series before. The very first Tales game was the fundamental idea of that game was, why don't we turn a RPG into a fighting game? When you look at the latest entry, we're so far removed from that core idea.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
If you appreciated the original game, then I would say that's a bad thing.
But I do appreciate the original game.
Well, if you appreciate the original game specifically because of that, I should say. Like, look, if they added the easy mode, like you can, like, again, you can play Skyrim. There are things about Skyrim that I like, but I'd much rather it would have just been, let's do Morrowind, but let's go even more hardcore into Morrowind.
What if?
Yeah.
They went more hardcore.
Yeah.
And all the people who have been complaining that the game was too hard were appeased by the existence of an extra easy mode that they could play.
Or what Fallout New Vegas did, where they added a hardcore mode for like people like you.
See, again, when I'm talking about the Elder Scrolls, I'm not talking about that in the context of difficulty. I'm talking about that in the context of these games become for everybody, and in doing so, the niche heart is sort of ripped out. And then I'm...
Yes, it's like I said before, it appeals to everyone but is loved by no one.
Yeah. Which is not necessarily true. There are people who love Skyrim, like love Skyrim.
I don't mean literally no one, but like I just mean in the sense that when you make something that if your intent as a creator is to make something that everyone is going to like, then no one is going to come away with it. Again, not literally no one, but like. Chances are less and less people are going to come away with it thinking of it as like a special experience. Less people are gonna feel that same level of attachment to it because it is so kind of bland in that respect.
I think that it boils down to, Bogan, with you and me, I think we agree up until the point where I think I'm more sympathetic to the idea of just telling people, no, I don't want you playing these games because I believe that once you get the masses in, the heart is going to be ripped out. You don't necessarily see that's the case.
No, I do agree with this, but I think if you specifically don't touch, I think that you can make a distinction between the core intended way to play the game and some kind of offshoot easy mode that is on top of what you actually want the game to be. And if you can consistently make that differentiation, I think you can ship games where the core stays intact, and then all the people who want the game to be easy, who think the game is too hard or too complicated, can just get their own version where they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to say, I think it's hilarious how I tried to like end it
10 minutes ago,
15, 20 minutes ago.
I guess we weren't done. Also, I just thought of an example. What about The Witcher 3? I think that game is very streamlined compared to 1 and 2. But people love it.
Is it better though?
Do you love it?
That's the question, Bogan.
No,
but not
do
only
you dislike
my
it?
opinion. I think it's a better game than Witcher 2 in a lot of ways, but I love Witcher 2 way more.
Yeah. You know, but
see, I tried playing a little bit of Witcher 3 and I didn't like the combat.
Yeah. But you're also not going to like the combat of Witcher 2, but Witcher 2...
No, but he might enjoy it for...
I also played Witcher 2 and I hated the combat way more.
Yeah, but Witcher 2 gives you... I don't know. In Witcher 2, I feel satisfied when I find some kind of broken build that lets me beat the game on the hardest difficulty. It's all about that sense of tricking the RPG mechanics.
You're going to think I'm a crazy person, but like of the three, I actually enjoyed the combat of the first game the most.
But
I only played these games for like an hour each, to be clear. I barely played them.
Yeah.
But like at least the first game's combat was like kind of weird and different and interesting, and you know, 2 felt like a really bad action RPG, and then Witcher 3 felt like a very bland action RPG.
Yeah. Sure. I will say since this is an episode about difficulty, there are very many games where difficulty modes, I think, make a lot of sense considering what those games' cores are about, though. Because
very many or very few?
Very, very many. Like, I would argue, for example, that the Bayonetta games or the Devil May Cry games, those games benefit immensely from difficulty modes because it gives you a ladder to climb as you begin to as you get better and better. Like, you play it at normal, okay, you now you get the mechanics, and then you play it at a harder difficulty, and you get more invested into being very stylish with these mechanics. So I think like I said in the beginning, difficulty modes for me, yes, if the developers want them, because the developers have probably argued internally that they make sense or they don't make sense for this specific kind of experience.
I think
which
what
is
the
maybe
developers want is I don't fucking care. If there's some person who can be made happy by just a scenic easy mode, and that person can just run through the world and look at all the cool architecture, then
what if there's a person, Bogan?
It's time for a callback. It's just like as if the authorial intent doesn't really matter.
Bogan, what if there's a person who doesn't play the game, but who will be made happy knowing that somebody else can't play the game either? Whose happiness are you going to prioritize?
Oh,
keep in mind
question.
Keep in mind that for the person who gets happy that the other person can't play it, you don't need to invest any resources into their happiness.
Okay, hold on.
I'm the guy with the trolley. Like, I need to decide who gets killed.
All right. What about? Wait a minute. This would be my last example. What about fucking Resident Evil, my guys?
Yeah, those games definitely got better as the masses became more the target audience.
I mean, because the appeal of the original few games is very different compared to Resident Evil 4, and then Resident Evil 6, and now Resident Evil 8.
Yeah, but there were also a lot of people who were really mad at Resident Evil 4. I love it.
Yes, and those people are wrong.
I love it, but it's not. It is just objectively not good for the same reasons. I do not play Resident Evil 4 for the same reasons I play Resident Evil 1. These are very different games.
But at that point, it's not really about, like, it's not like, they're so different. Yeah, they're just like completely different experiences at that point. Yeah. So it then comes back to this idea of like, well...
Morrowind and Skyrim are different experiences too.
Yes.
And the thing is...
And I think you just need to learn to accept that instead of complaining and being a little salty cunt.
The thing is, though, Daniel, I don't know if you can bring up Resident Evil 4 without also bringing up Resident Evil 5 and 6.
Oh.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I would trade Resident Evil 4 in if it meant we got 3 more Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 quality tank control Resident Evil horror games. I would trade 4, 5, and 6 in...
I don't know. Resident Evil 4 is really good, though.
Yeah, but Resident Evil 1 is also really good.
I'm not saying it's not, but...
Maybe not Resident Evil 4, though.
I beat Resident Evil 4 like 5 fucking times.
I feel like Resident Evil 4... that game did so much for like changing the identity of games. Like without Resident Evil 4, you don't have Gears of War, you don't have Uncharted, and you don't get that disgusting slog of a AAA action shooter game, which that's obviously not Resident Evil 4's fault. But that's like such a big milestone in games growing.
It's funny because I was watching Noah Cadwell Gervais. He did like a 7-hour
7 hours and 28 minutes. 3 minutes longer than my Bloodborne video, that bastard.
Yeah. On the entire Resident Evil franchise. He talks about nearly every game. And when he gets to Resident Evil 4, he says something really interesting where he didn't see what the big deal was when he played it until he realized that it was because he had played so many other games that were cribbing from Resident Evil 4 that, like, Resident Evil 4, when it came out, its identity was so fully formed that it was difficult for him to even, like, appreciate it. That's how influential that game is. It's nuts. Anyways, I think this has gone on for way too long. Yeah. Gentlemen.
Yes.
What are some shit that y'all working on?
The Shadow Tower Abyss video. I already said it, Daniel. Jeez.
Okay.
God. We're both Napoleon Bonaparte now. Oh my god.
Boken, what are you working on?
Leveling my Final Fantasy character.
Woo! You know, when Endwalker comes out, I can hop over to your data center and we could play together.
Sure.
That's in November,
I can teach you how to raid.
Oh, really? Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. I see how it
Interesting, Bogan.
I'm gonna whisper you criticizing your DPS meters.
I see. Okay. Anything else?
You're a scrub?
Oh,
What else? I don't know.
No, I mean, what else are you working on?
No, nothing else.
Nothing else. Okay. Well, I'm still working on this video about MMOs. I was hoping to have it out sooner, but I got into some complications with my audio that I've been working on. Hopefully, it'll be out before the next episode. Anyways, this has been the Essays and Espresso crew.
wait.
What?
What are we doing next week or next episode, Daniel?
This doesn't matter.
This matters.
Yu-Gi-Oh! We're talking about Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, wait,
Season 0.
Right, I guess it does. Yeah.
Probably. More than likely.
Yes. Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0. I got it for us, guys. You've been asking for it. I'm gonna...
The next topic is probably going to be why video essays shouldn't be longer than 1 second.
That's an inside joke. None of them is gonna get. Congratulations, Daniel.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.